Welcome to another episode of Badass Banking, and today I've got another badass banker. He's not really a banker. He's a credit union technology guy, and his name is Keith Riddle, and he is with a new and exciting CUSO, which is part of Corporate One, and it is called Sherpa Technologies. Keith, how are you?
I'm doing well, Brian. How are you? And I do serve both the banking market and the credit union market, so I have the banking expertise in my background as well.
There you go. So we're not excluding anybody. So it's really
we're not excluding anybody from this update.
It's banking, not just credit unioning.
That's right.
So tell us a little about what Sherpa's doing and what you're doing there.
So what Sherpa's doing in a very concise fashion is digital transformation services and support for the industry. And I know that's a very broad statement, but credit unions like to evaluate where they can start a digital transformation journey and where their optimum ending may be. And it's an evolutionary process for many of them, and it's an iterative scenario that is continual. So our logo, as you can see, is this mountain ridge where folks are going through that journey. And if you're familiar with the reference to Sherpas, which I know you probably are,
yep.
We're that organization that can help them to understand some of the complexities, carry the heavy load, and move up that mountain in conjunction with them. And the green line that goes through that mountain ridge is more the optimum path for each credit union. So that's where the logo came together with the Sherpa reference, and certainly technologies is the transformation support. So we're very diverse in what we offer in fintech engagement, things we do internally, enablement framework that we have that's unique called Mosaic, which I know one of our favorite colleagues is Ron Shevlin from Cornerstone. So he often references this platformification aspect, and how you have to attract folks in and create the appropriate tools and create value propositions for both the organization connecting and those consuming the services. And that's what Mosaic does, as a platformification aspect tied to the services that we're offering.
Very interesting. So when did Sherpa get rolling? When did they get started?
We officially launched in January of 2019, but within Corporate One, I ran a division called Enterprise Solutions Development. And that was the creation or incubation of the CUSO, just not formally announced, where we had an innovation framework. We have a very active innovation council, about 28 credit unions across the country, various asset sizes, scope of operations, et cetera. And that created the mechanism and the foundation to launch the CUSO. And we had a lot of interaction with Corporate One's digital development team and their CTO, Jim Horlocker, who provided a lot of expertise and knowledge and guidance as we both jointly reviewed what will become our enterprise development platform. And we've deployed it and actually developed our first application or set of applications on it. So long journey. We've gone through that mountainous process as well. And we're hoping to make that as green as possible for Sherpa, as well as Corporate One and all the credit unions that take advantage of it.
Well, I mean, I think the cause is a good one. You guys are doing some great work. I've attended a couple of your events. I was in Columbus with the Strategy Core team talking about some new product initiatives there. And then down in, where was it? St. Petersburg, Tampa.
In Tampa.
Yep, Tampa. We had Sam there from Cornerstone. That was a great event. And I love the enthusiasm. Shout out to Cody. I like Cody. He's a riot. He is just a blast. So let's talk about some of the recent partnerships. I saw one recently had to do with CU Ledger. You want to tell us a little about what's going on with your investment with them?
Yeah, so that actually has been something we have been actively engaged with for a couple years. So CU Ledger, as we know, is the credit union-owned distributed ledger platform. And one of their key initiatives has been, how do you take this aspect of distributed identity and make that more self-sovereign, so you don't have to worry about necessarily someone who places their identity in their email platform and their digital banking platform and all the various platforms we interact with continually throughout the day. So bringing that more under control with the consumer, who is the credit union member, and allowing them to distribute the appropriate information based upon the identity needed for that specific experience. So CU Ledger has launched MemberPass, which is their digital wallet for enabling self-sovereign identity. And if you've been also following this aspect of what we've done with ID Pal in our fintech partnership and providing ID verification, document verification, and KYC processes as part of an overall digital identification process. The two of those platforms will be fused together, and then we'll be leveraging Mosaic for some aspects on the back end of that in the future. But we're very entrenched in helping credit unions to understand the value of digital identity, which, as we all know, is becoming more and more important as larger institutions pursue those initiatives, and fintechs, and the growing concern about fraudulent or synthetic IDs and how that's becoming relatively pervasive in the market. And recent articles about all the fraudulent IDs that have come from various countries into the US are going to create challenges for credit unions, and they need to address this in a unified way versus a more segmented way, and somebody does this aspect and another one does this aspect. It's a great opportunity to leverage a common platform for achieving that objective.
Well, you need a common platform. Otherwise, we're going to confuse the hell out of the consumers. You know,
Exactly.
the credit union members, the bank customers are already having a hard enough time managing passwords.
You got it.
And I saw that article you posted about speaking of China, the synthetic identification. Look what's going on in China with the they're flooding the U.S. market with fake driver's licenses.
Exactly.
Which is pretty scary when you think about it. You know,
it is scary, and the credit union should be concerned because it's not necessarily the deposit account base that are being penetrated that's part of these synthetic IDs. Yeah. It's the loan base. And I know that we have cases in our state where there's been a ring that has hit a few institutions creating fraudulent loan activity, and then immediately following that, because they're using these synthetic IDs and friendly fraud aspects in some cases, where they're able to generate the loan request, get the loan proceeds, even a lower amount than maybe they requested, and immediately claim ID fraud. And that puts the institution on the hook of trying to recover those funds, or it places them in a scenario of loss.
Yeah. As they say, follow the money, and the money's going to be on the lending side,
exactly.
Especially based on the average American consumer only having $400 in savings. So
exactly.
The money's in the loan. Yeah, that's going to be scary, but it's exciting to watch, and it's a good opportunity. So congrats on what you're doing with that.
Thanks.
But let's talk about the. Now I'm a little biased toward Dave DeFazio and his partners at Strategy Corp. Let's talk about the partnership you have with those guys now. What's that all about?
Yeah, we're biased as well. We're obviously fans of Strategy Corp and what they do. And we have been in conversations with Dave DeFazio and team for probably over 2.5 years before we actually consummated that partnership. And the reason we pursued that partnership is that I personally believe, and I'm sure you do as well, there is a significant deficiency of data analytics at its most core foundational level within the financial services industry, not just credit unions. Yeah. And we view that opportunity as something that the partnerships create a foundational understanding of analytics, how that can apply to a checking account structure that needs to be revisited to deliver greater value from a digital rewards platform that obviously Strategy Corp does with the Bazing platform, and then allow for additional functionality to be enabled in that framework in the form of tiles or modules.
Yep.
So when we look at what we do in enabling functionality in tiles or modular fashion, whether it's ID verification, a digital payment solution, and other solutions we'll be introducing to the Strategy Corp team, that coupling that with a digital rewards platform that could have a unique configuration based upon a persona or use case has tremendous value in leveraging all the analytics opportunity that comes with that checking score and structuring your account appropriately before you layer in rewards.
Yep.
So it is a perfect timing, we believe, because of the declining interest rates, obviously, the economic conditions, the pressures on profitability, and you need to look at what you're doing with your existing members and how you treat your new members and how they fall within that framework for ultimate profitability and member engagement as you move forward.
Yep.
So a lot in that summary, but that's why we think both platforms and organizations come together. The 1 + 1 = 3 in this case.
Yep. Actionable insights, relevant offers and context, and then a checking account reward program that makes that checking account at that bank or credit union different. And it drives retention, and you get closer to the member, the customer you serve. So it makes perfect sense. So let's wrap up with a couple questions on FinTech. So what excites you the most about FinTech right now?
Well, we had, so as you know, because you participated in our Sherpa Fuse,
Yep.
Fintech User Experience Strategy Enablement, that's what the Fuse stands for. Our Fuse conference last year is that we're very actively involved with a Fintech Excel CU accelerator. We participated in more broad accelerators in the past, used those learnings to create something specifically for the industry. So we're very committed to the Fintech environment globally, and looking at those global offers that basically could become something that could create some traction in the US with the appropriate care and feeding and understanding of regulatory scenarios and the credit union industry. A lot in that as well. But our aspect of FinTech is when you look at our solution pillars, member engagement, payment optimization, RegTech and identity, and partner ecosystem, that ecosystem is dedicated to looking at fintechs that are on the rise, may have some clients in place, looking for accelerated distribution, and that we can leverage our participants in the Fintech Excel program, as well as our Innovation Council of 28 credit unions to test, provide feedback, perhaps accelerate their product development roadmap through a co-funding exercise, and then move them into a more significant position within this industry, credit union industry, and financial services potentially. So what excites me is that I think there is a lot of activity happening on the lending front. Obviously, financial institutions make their money on lending. And as you look at FinTech, whether it's On Deck or Cabbage or others that now are either had their traction in the marketplace and have been acquired, or there are other providers like a SoFi who are redefining the experience. And that's the key aspect. It's not necessarily the underwriting process as we consider for loan origination systems. It's how are you going to optimize the experience, make the consumer feel comfortable, let them know there may not be a credit impact to that experience, and then take them through a very streamlined and guided workflow, providing them appropriate information that's contextual to what they've applied for. So those are the things that have gotten us very excited. And I think we're on the cusp of something that could be pretty exciting for the industry on that front. Certainly payments are always going to be the forefront. I think probably more now than ever. Consumers want immediacy. They want the immediacy not only in the data, they want to have immediacy in the funds availability. And that goes beyond the aspect of necessarily maybe some network solutions that have been traditional or card-based in the past. And then leveraging some traditional rails where there's ACH for those processes. But real-time payments, we're committed to that as part of our effort as well. And then on the RegTech side, we've talked about it. Digital identity is going to, in my opinion, probably take a forefront in how you're going to package your solutions. So it'll be identity, it'll be the packaging of solutions, it'll be how those rewards are appropriately positioned and delivered through a platform framework. And if you look at what Google has done in partnering with the institutions, I don't think it's much unlike what they're planning to do. They haven't been specific as to all the solution criteria and the characteristics, excuse me. But it is something that the institutions are going to have to take more attention and understanding. How do I layer more functionality within a solution? How do I take advantage of streamlined digital experiences without losing the trust of the data and the security of the data in the process?
Yeah,
that's where we can help to facilitate those conversations.
Yeah. Well said. That trust is going to be critical, and there's some apprehensive from the American public and their trust of big tech at this point, but I think that's going to change, and I think that they're going to bring some new platforms and technology to the space that's going to rattle the cage of the traditional financial institution, which is probably a good thing, right? We need a good thing. There's an awakening occurring right now. I think this is the most exciting time I've ever seen in my career for financial technology, for banks, credit unions, the American consumer. COVID aside, there's going to be some real cool stuff that's going to come up. Hopefully we're going to see banking become a little more badass from a consumer point of view. And
I hope so. And I think there are going to be some badass institutions, both in the credit union side and beyond that are going to help to enable that.
Yep, I agree.
We've got some that are doing so, and hopefully an industry will continue to move forward in that more progressive way.
Well, Keith, it's been a pleasure. I'm gonna post your contact info if it's okay. LinkedIn, link to the Sherpa Technology website, all below. And hopefully people will reach out to you and inquire. You may get a lot of people. You never know. It shows every time I mention Ron Shevlin on the show, I get another 2 followers.
And I might get another 1. So good for us. We're getting 3 more followers.
There you go. So if you're watching the show, like, comment, dislike, whatever. This is all about engagement. This is about having a little fun. It's getting the people behind the brands out in the forefront so you get to know the individuals a little more. I want to make sure that the people behind the brands are really showcased. So Keith, thank you very much. I'll post this in the next day or 2.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate the opportunity.